Hey, and welcome back to Game Talk. I'm your host, Ahmed Mian. Today I'm joined by Connor
Hey guys.
and Mike.
Ah,
I wanted to start off the show by talking about something pretty serious. Let me just preface this by saying that we are not medical professionals in any way, shape, or form. However, I feel like it is prudent to discuss this because it is affecting literally everything. And, gaming is a part of everything, and it is hitting the game industry pretty hard. Of course, I am talking about the coronavirus. And, as the days and weeks go by, it just keeps spreading at what seems like an exponential pace. And it's already had very real effects on the economy and various industries. And where the game industry is concerned, we're starting to see the cancellation/delays of major gaming events that have sort of been staples for years and years now. The first and biggest that comes to mind is GDC. It started with Sony pulling out of GDC, and then like Facebook pulling out, and then all sorts of companies, even Microsoft pulling out of GDC, which just led to GDC being delayed. But I don't really know. I feel like this is just them sort of soft canceling it. I don't see the coronavirus problem being resolved by
It's not going to
June.
get better for at least a year and a half. I don't
Yeah,
think.
so
That's what the CDC was saying recently.
I think this is more just all these companies and events just sort of trying to figure out how to navigate this, because we can't just shut everything down for a year and a half. At least I hope not, right? But GDC is a big deal. This is the first time it's been delayed/canceled, and
Yeah.
that's a real shame because GDC is where sort of like the meeting of the minds is. Like all sorts of developers, AAA to indie, meet there and learn new things and are invigorated for developing basically for the rest of the year. And I think not having GDC is going to have a pretty sizable impact because maybe some indie that was going to sort of blow up can't now because there's no GDC. And it's not just GDC. We're seeing like PAX get canceled as well. And all these companies are saying, we don't want to send our employees out, which they should, right? Health and safety of people comes first before video games, obviously. But I just kind of wanted to bring it up and say, what sort of implications will this have? And what do you think we can, I don't know, do about it? Or how will we react to it?
I mean, this is kind of an aside, but the cancellation of GDC could potentially be a very good thing. I don't think it's likely, but
Why would you
GDC
say it's a good thing?
GDC sucks, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, there's no reason for GDC to cost $3,000 for a ticket. There's no reason for it. Then there's no reason for it to be in San Francisco, really. Why do you pick the most expensive city in America?
Because
And charge
many of the
$3,000 a
AAA
ticket.
game studios are in California and Washington and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but it's bad for the industry to have that big of a financial barrier to entry. It's a horrible scourge on the industry. It doesn't help anybody. And so if this opens the door for somebody else to step up and some other location to step up, I'd be extremely happy, even if it means a couple years of slower announcements and stuff.
Well, that's
'Cause-
the thing. I don't think anyone's going to open their doors because I don't think anyone will come now. Everyone's sort of just keeping
No.
them themselves and staying inside as much as possible.
See, that's not really true within, a lot of people are going to San Francisco anyway because they'd already paid for the tickets and weren't getting refunds and stuff. And so a lot of smaller developers are just putting together their own get-togethers and stuff since GDC is not happening, and I could see something coming out of that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was mostly looking at it, I guess, from the AAA perspective. Sony, Microsoft pulling out. I think that's a pretty
Right, that's definitely
substantial
significant.
blow
Yeah.
to the conference itself.
Right. And I
Up
think
until-
you're right. I don't think GDC is going to happen later this year. And I think it's super likely E3 gets canceled.
Yeah, I was
too.
gonna say I don't think E3 is going to happen either, which is
But E3 already was barely happening.
yeah.
I mean-
Actually, the fun thing about GDC is that GDC from 2009 until 2016, they had other locations like Europe and China. I guess there was just not enough interest in GDC Europe to actually host it there anymore.
I didn't know that.
There was one
didn't
in
know that either.
Texas in 2011.
See, I think it all needs to be one location because the whole
Yeah.
point is that it's all the greatest minds of game development getting together in one place. But the fact that like you have to be fairly wealthy to be able to even pull it off. Like
Yeah.
3,000, I make okay money, but dropping $3,000 for an event like that is huge to me. Like it would not be a smart investment for me right now.
It is a sort of weird barrier to entry, especially because, game creators are not known for being wealthy. They're not really paid well.
No.
And yet this event, which is meant to stimulate game creation, it has such a high barrier to entry.
No, and there are competitors like this. I don't want to go too off topic on the coronavirus thing, but there are competitors to GDC, and I guess this is on topic because GameDev.World is what it's called, and it's a streamed competitor to GDC essentially. It's a bunch of talks, and it's put together by Rami Ishmael, I think is the way you pronounce his name. And he has orchestrated a lot of things. I mean, it's not all him obviously, but he's like the face on all of it. And it's just a live streamed event, and it's simulcast in a ton of different languages. But it doesn't have I don't care about the talks at GDC really. Like the thing about GDC that would be important to me is getting the meetings and the mixers and stuff, like all the networking opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to create that online. And coronavirus is definitely going to affect those things, and especially in America, it's going to, like, any of these events that take place in the US are going to be impacted more than any others because it's so financially dangerous to get sick in the United States right now.
Well, yeah, that's a whole can of worms.
Yeah,
The care
but
system
I'm
in the
not.
United States is not ideal.
Yeah, we're
to
not
say
a
the
political podcast, but Rami Ishmael has said that he is not afraid to travel anywhere in Europe, but doesn't see himself stepping foot in America in the foreseeable future because he. A coronavirus would be a financial burden that he couldn't handle, and he's a wealthy dude.
Yeah.
But insurance on American citizens is rough, but it's actually much worse situation for foreigners because they have to like pay for travel insurance, which is like ridiculously expensive.
Right. But I kind of wanted to loop back to the idea you said of like having a streamed conference. So like with coronavirus causing all these cancellations, do you think we'll see these events sort of restructure into some sort of online format, streaming format?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I'd love for there to be a VR chat GDC or something like that. Like if I could drop in, and even that's no, VR chat runs on a normal PC, so the barrier to entry there isn't super steep.
VR chat, GDC.
I feel like that would just be a mess.
The barrier to entry is too low at that point. I feel like.
I can't get over, like, I'm imagining a GDC talk, but instead of like a normal person, it's like some anime girl giving a talk about how their game is the best game in the world.
No, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
Because the important part of GDC to me is being in a room with those people, and like watching a Twitch stream does not give me that.
Yeah, and definitely like having, Twitch being, you can't really have interaction on Twitch. It's just the Twitch chat just becomes a hive mind of its own, So
Right.
it's mostly going to be a one-way dialogue that way, which is unfortunate, right? We can have like the talks and such, like you said, but the meetings themselves are virtually impossible in this format. But
Right,
for
and that's why I was saying like the barrier to entry to that would be too low. Like I don't think the financial barrier to entry is a good thing, but there needs to be something that means like GDC is for game developers. Like you don't want a bunch of people who like playing games necessarily
yeah, I think
to be at GDC.
no,
kinda.
GDC is for game creators for sure, not game players.
But I think if you opened it up like that, then like people would just show up trying to meet
absolutely,
yeah, and that's a problem.
Yeah. But like for an event like E3, maybe I could see E3 restructuring to be online only. It's just a series of directs or something like that. Granted, that sort of sucks away the excitement for me personally, but I do think eventually that's where we're going to go with E3. So maybe coronavirus will just accelerate the process.
Yeah, I think E3 will die this year. I don't think that's a ridiculous statement because, I mean, you already don't have PlayStation or Nintendo there.
And Jeff Keighley basically squaring them off is a pretty big deal. I don't think it'll die this year, but I think it's on its last legs, last few years.
I think it'll be canceled this year, and a lot of those they can't afford to be canceled for a year. The money situation, they wouldn't survive it. A lot of people were worried about GDC not existing if they canceled. Like,
Yeah, it's scary.
and I would not mind E3 going away entirely at all because I don't get the point of spending all that money when like
But as
also
like,
Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation could all just get together and say like, yeah, we're gonna do a bunch of announcements this week, and that's E3.
True.
It's
Yeah.
exactly the same.
yeah, I
Like,
guess I'm as
The
a
show
fan, I
floor is
guess I just
meaningless to
miss the ceremony of the press conferences. I think as long as live press conferences exist in some way, shape, or form, rather than just the direct style, Nintendo Direct style events, I think I'll be happy. But like the main reason I like E3 so much is because I love the energy of a live conference. And for a couple of reasons. One, because there's just an insane amount of hype around them, but also the awkwardness factor. I feel like anything can happen on that stage.
see,
Yeah.
I
We've
could
seen some
absolutely
really-
live without that.
We've seen some really strange things over the
Yeah.
years, which I find very entertaining, and that will be forever lost if E3 goes away.
I would absolutely love for that to go away. I hate watching somebody flounder on stage. It makes me hurt. It hurts my bones.
It's the spectacle of E3 that really keeps people coming to it. Like, where else is Microsoft gonna bring a car onto stage that's made out of Legos and be like, "Hey, guess what's coming to Forza? We're getting a new car
Yeah, it's stuff
made
like
of
that,
Legos."
you know?
See, I would be so happy to see that stuff go. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. I don't get it.
It's dumb, but it's entertaining, you know?
Yeah, it's
At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I guess people would be sad. I wouldn't be happy to see it go. I would not care at all. I don't know. I am way more excited for a Nintendo Direct than I am a Nintendo press conference because I know that I'm getting like non-stop action for
The
like
filtered experience.
yeah, and it's a non-stop like stream of amazement, either amazement or excessive disappointment, like one of the two, depending on whether or not it's a Fire Emblem Direct. Like,
See, okay, I don't know. So my mind always goes back to E3 2016 and 2017 for Sony. And those were two of the most incredible press conferences I've ever seen.
and
Like,
see, I remember
Those
watching that
press
with
conferences had a magic and an electricity to them, which I still just remember watching that conference. It's such a lame thing to have burned
you.
into
No,
your
I remember it too. 'Cause
But, yeah.
I mean, you and I watched them together. I think once on Discord and once in person.
Yeah.
But like, and I had a super good time. But the thing I liked were the trailers and stuff. Like, it would have been exactly the same to me if they had done the same thing.
There's
But,
also something exciting knowing that like Cory Barlog was on stage. You could see him actually playing the God of War demo. So you know it wasn't some pre-canned thing. You know you were seeing something
oh,
in
but
with
it
the
is
time.
pre-canned.
No, it's not. He was playing a
See,
no. He was live there playing the game. That's
Yeah, but
that's
seeing
fact.
somebody play it live doesn't mean it's not pre-canned. It's just super scripted. Like,
Well, the point is like if it was in a direct, then it's All
it could
bets
be
are off.
CG video. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That doesn't add anything to it to me. I guess I
Plus
just have
the-
a different opinion though.
the live orchestra scoring the demo. I don't know. It was such an entertaining thing to watch.
Yeah, I guess we're just yeah. I mean, there's no. I just don't agree. I don't have the same
Yeah.
excitement for it.
Well, I think you're going to win this one out because I think it is in fact going away. But the interesting question is what if anything will rise to take its place? The first thing that comes to my mind is Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards. You know, the Game Awards have sort of already turned into a mini E3, right? They're an
Yeah.
awards show, but there's so many like game reveals and announcements there. I wonder
do
if
really enjoy watching those live too. Like the stage and everything. I
Yeah.
like that. Like it's it's our Oscars kind of.
Yeah, and I think I read a statistic. I mean, don't quote me on this. Definitely verify this yourself. But more people watched the Game Awards this year than the Oscars, which is
I would love for that to be true.
makes me kind of really proud.
Yeah,
Um,
proud
but-
to be part of that community. Yeah.
yeah, but like I wonder if Jeff Keighley this year he was just like, yeah, I'm done with the ESA. I don't want to go to E3 anymore. I wonder if this is a sign that he's gearing up to sort of assume that sort of role for people to gather around his event, because like Jeff is not the only one with problems with the ESA. That's why Sony stopped going essentially. Sony also didn't like how the ESA ran things, and like
Yeah.
apparently they impose exorbitant fees on all sorts of things for the companies attending their event.
Oh yeah,
So
that's why Devolver screws with them every year with their.
Yeah.
They like rent the parking lot next to the expo and do their Devolver Direct and everything. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a very interesting time of flux right now. Like E3 is dying, and it's I guess the question is what if anything will take its place. It's very impossible that nothing will take its place, and it'll all be, like you said, streamed and direct style
Yeah.
events.
I don't know, and I just think coronavirus is going to speed that up. Like,
Yeah, certainly. It'll speed that process up. But another
Yeah.
interesting thing to consider with coronavirus, these consoles, the Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, 90% of
Yeah.
consoles are manufactured in China. And, obviously we can't paint a blanket over a whole country, but
yeah, it's a problem right now.
yeah, it is. It does
I mean, their
beg
economy
the
is
question.
like shutting down. Yeah.
Like a PlayStation 5 Xbox Series X delay is not out of the cards now, I think.
Oh my God, do you think this is going to be what gets cloud gaming off the?
Oh God, wouldn't that be a
Oh,
horrible?
I've never even
horrible,
thought
ironic,
about that. That would be
weird
so
thing.
insane.
Literally forced into cloud gaming because we can't
Because-
purchase physical consoles due to risk of infection.
all
Okay,
coming
it's
up
not risk
Stadia.
of infection. That's not a thing. But like, the manufacturing, people
Yeah.
can't come into work.
Yeah. But no, in all seriousness though, like, do you think we could see delay for the next generation of consoles?
I
Or do you
don't think.
Or
there
do you
will
think
be a delay.
Sony and
I think-
Microsoft are gung
I
ho
think-
on getting it out this year?
I think they would release with a shortage sooner than they would delay it, because
I think I agree.
a shortage at launch is good publicity. Like,
Look at the Wii.
yeah, I mean, look at Amiibos. Look at the Nintendo, everything Nintendo releases, the NES Classic and the SNES Classic. Like, those are on the news because they are so hard to find, and that, the new Xbox and the new PlayStation having that, it obviously would hurt them. It's never a good thing to not have enough supply to meet your demand, but I think that they would do that sooner because they don't want to miss the holiday sales.
Yeah, and especially with everything already sort of reaching a fever pitch, people are starving for PS5 news. Xbox is currently, I think, at their peak right now, right before the launch of the Series X. People are in love with Game Pass. Everyone's people that weren't considering Xbox before are sort of jumping on now. I think both companies are in a very strong position, and it would really suck for their momentum if the coronavirus postponed the launch.
But I think it's likely, a lack of Xbox Series X's, but Microsoft says like, oh, but you can get, the same experience using Project X Cloud on your Xbox One S or whatever, because the S has 4K HDR, right?
The S, you can watch 4K HDR, but games, I guess
Yeah,
if it's
but
just
I
streaming,
bet-
it doesn't matter.
I bet X Cloud could do it. So yeah. So, they'll say like, yeah, but you can get that experience through X Cloud and Game Pass, and I could see them making the most of this situation, and then that would put them in a huge advantage over Sony probably.
But then that circles back to the conversation we've had before on cloud and infrastructure, and are we ready for a global cloud gaming ecosystem? And I still say no.
Oh yeah, I still say no. Like, you and I still need hardware. Like, I was playing with GeForce Now here the other day, and it was
Yeah.
amazing, but like it worked pretty well. Like, it was super playable. I was enjoying it, but my neighbors started using their internet or something later in the day, and my latency started going up. And the truth is, like, the infrastructure, at least in West Virginia, where we're all from, isn't good
Yeah,
enough.
and
It might
especially,
even be
like,
good enough in Morgantown, but it's
Yeah,
not in Charleston.
I was gonna say Morgantown is probably the best internet in the entire state, and
Yeah.
I certainly don't think we're even close to ready enough for no latency cloud gaming like Microsoft's aiming for. I still think you'd want to live in like New York or San Francisco or a big metropolis area for that to
And I don't
even
even
be a
know if you have
remote
to go that big.
possibility.
Like, I bet Pittsburgh would be fine. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but a metropolitan area is the only place that that's going to work right now
Yeah.
in the U.S. at least, and that's a shame. But I do want cloud gaming to exist. I know I've
I
talked
mean,
about how it doesn't
yeah.
work, but I want it to. Like, obviously, that it'd be super nice to not have to buy hardware anymore, and
Yeah.
to be
I
able to
mean,
access your games on every device you own. Like,
by
it's
the
a pipe
time
dream.
by the time PlayStation 6 and Xbox Series 2X comes around, cloud gaming will be as normal to us as, as downloading a game was. It'll be as normal to us as downloading a game,
I
like,
agree.
and you
Yeah.
know how that was like a foreign concept like 15 years ago. Like even PC gamers used to buy like discs and stuff,
Yeah.
but the rise of digital storefronts, that all went away pretty quickly. I think we'll see a similar shift in mentality next generation where it's like we can't even imagine a future or we couldn't even imagine a past where like cloud gaming wasn't ubiquitous.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And I don't know, I would be tickled if my prediction that coronavirus speeds that up was true, but we really don't know. I mean, it's all I think it's safe to say it's going to have an impact on the launch, but
Yeah, and whether
I
it's,
I mean, it's affecting like Switch Lite right now, isn't it? Like,
oh, I didn't know that. That's
yeah, I think it affected the Animal Crossing exclusive Switch.
yeah. Didn't they delay something too because of coronavirus?
I'm not sure,
No,
but
I think
I
okay, no,
definitely
no.
read some Nintendo news that they were like,
So I realized I was thinking of the new James Bond movie got delayed due to
wow,
coronavirus for some reason.
really?
I'm not really sure why a movie got delayed, but yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they had to film in a place where it's a problem. I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, they I'm pretty sure Nintendo was talking about the Animal Crossing Switch limited edition. Like they weren't able to produce the numbers they wanted to.
Yeah.
And that sucks because that thing looks good.
Yeah, it does look really good.
That'll be my Doom and Animal Crossing coming out. That'll probably be a whole episode for us, but
Yeah.
Yeah, we sort of foreshadowed that release every episode since we came back. It's
yeah.
definitely. When is that? That's in March, right?
That's March 20th.
Wow. Okay. That's soon.
I'm planning on moving to Morgantown before it happens.
For
So
for it.
I
Just
want to
for
move to my new island and move into my new apartment at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, get it all
that's
over with.
fitting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Side note: have you guys ever played the game Plague Inc?
No, but I know about it. Hey, isn't it unavailable in China right now?
Yeah, I was gonna bring
Yeah.
up China banned it, which
Yeah, they banned it.
is kind of funny in a dark way, I think. But I do think it's a fun game. I was pretty addicted to it for a while.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I saw a bunch of people play it in high school and stuff. It's definitely a little too real right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus the fact that every single good playthrough starts in China. It's just how the game works. It's how I've won every game of Plague Inc.
All right, we're gonna change topics now.
But it's real disappointing now.
So I don't know if you guys saw this, but I think this news just broke today, and it means a lot more to me than it does you guys. But Neil Druckmann, the director of The Last of Us 1 and 2, it's been revealed that he is working with HBO. But he's working with the same guy who did Chernobyl. I don't know if any of you guys watched that.
I haven't watched it, but I've heard amazing things about
Yeah.
it.
But he's working with that guy to create a Last of Us series on HBO, which I think is like the perfect match. I think Neil Druckmann, like you need him on board for script writing and such. And I think HBO is the perfect network to disseminate a Last of Us series because, HBO is sort of associated with those like darker, grittier, more mature shows. And
I would go as far as to posit that this will be the superior way to experience The Last of Us.
okay, let's not get carried away here. Well, I don't know. I don't think it'll be a direct adaptation of the game. I think
No, I think that'd be a
just
waste.
be redundant. But yeah, I saw that and I was pretty excited. And originally, The Last of Us was going to be a movie, but apparently they've canceled that and now have turned it into an HBO TV series, which I think is way more appropriate. I think Uncharted is way more suited to like blockbuster cinema than
Yeah,
The
for
Last
sure.
of Us is.
Yeah. Although I'm just not. I don't know. I guess my tune's changing a little bit. I really enjoyed the Witcher Netflix series.
Yeah, I still gotta watch
Uh,
that.
I
It's-
watched that recently. I've never played The Witcher, but it's making me want to.
Oh, do it. It's like we're in a renaissance for video game media, largely because the people now doing the media grew up with video games. Like we're seeing a lot of cartoons that are actually making good video game references.
I think it's
That's
a mix
very
between
true.
it's a lot of that, but it's also video game audience has gotten so much bigger. So like
Yeah.
when you make a video game movie, the audience for that is actually massive. Like it's not a niche thing for nerds anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we were kids, a lot of the people that were in like media and cartoons, they didn't grow up playing video games like our generation did.
Right.
They were kind of on the outside looking in, and now you have people coming in who actually grew up with video games and they can make references and not look really weird about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're in a renaissance now. We're gonna get a lot of good quality video game series.
That's
Yep.
I mean, that's a really good point. I do think it's like you said, it's the beginning of a renaissance. We've seen The Witcher, we've seen Detective Pikachu, Sonic movie, and the most recent thing being the Last of Us series, Uncharted movie. I think we finally cracked the code.
We did
And
it.
we've got a
Okay.
Super Mario movie coming that'll almost definitely ruin the winning streak.
Oh yeah, I can't see that
Honestly,
being good
It
in
could.
any way.
It
It's
has to be
elimination. It
better.
can't be good. It's
It-
elimination. It cannot be good. They
There's
don't make
no
good
way
movies.
it's as bad as the one from the 90s.
That is true. It will be
No,
better
yeah.
than that.
See, but like, in the period like the 90s and, before that, video game movies were relegated to the they're so bad it's good category,
Yeah.
where now they're actually being like competently made. So,
Yeah.
We're even
Yeah.
seeing like game companies kind of sprout out their own division to do TV shows or animated series and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
A little
it's
bit.
weird.
Yeah. Like Sega releasing those Sonic shorts.
Or Riot Games releasing an entire short in their universe. Like that's
Yeah.
nuts.
And like
Years
the
ago,
the
I've never seen
Overwatch
that.
shorts and stuff too,
Yeah.
kind of from Blizzard. Yeah.
I kind of blame Valve for this because Valve was one of the first companies that I can remember doing this. Doing like videos that introduce a class with the Meet the Team series.
Yeah, that was a good series. And I don't even like TF2.
It's like they're finally learning you can take game lore further out from just its confines to the game.
Yeah,
just
you
have
can
to
have
do
a
it right,
multimedia experience. Yeah.
because the game is largely interactive and it's real rough if you don't do it that way. And that's why video game movies are generally not as good as the game.
Yeah. And I will say, like, even though we've been on a winning streak lately, like I saw the Assassin's Creed movie the other day and that was hot garbage.
yeah, I
Like,
had no interest in watching that, which is a shame because Michael Fassbender's great. I
I know,
really
and-
enjoy him in X-Men.
no,
and-
it's such a shame that movie didn't work because of all the games that could have had a movie, like Assassin's Creed had so much potential.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's like this weird line you have to walk where like you have to respect the original lore, but also not you shouldn't just tell the exact same story again.
And also just take out, like, you need to adapt, it can't be
Yeah.
a one-to-one. Like, you can't have Michael Fassbender jumping off a skyscraper and landing into a barrel of hay and have it
No.
look not stupid,
Yeah.
You have
Right.
to sort of tweak that mechanic.
Yeah. Not doing it off of a 2-story building or something as a gag, that could be fun. Like,
Yeah.
because you need to respect that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like,
yeah.
Assassin's Creed games created the whole mechanic of, like, syncing viewpoints, which many open world games use today. Like, that
Yeah.
was made by Assassin's Creed. So definitely, yeah, something like that needs to be respected and adapted thoughtfully, but, the key word is thoughtfully.
Yeah.
Yeah, open world games are kind of disappearing. I feel like we're gonna
Thank God.
see a lot of them disappear because there was a period over the last decade where it was just open world game after open world game.
So that's
Dude,
the thing. So,
An
like,
open world game with a skill tree is such a turnoff to me. I hate skill trees and I hate unnecessary open worlds.
so
I mean, The Witcher's an open world, but it's a world that's also full of things to do.
Yeah.
Like, I
So-
look at my map and be like, oh, God, I have so much left to do before
No.
I can go to this next area.
Yeah, there are games that should be open world, but then there's like Batman Arkham Knight, where like the only point of the open world was to waste my time in between extremely fun missions. and the only point of the skill tree was to like, I guess, kind of keep me from being overwhelmed at the very beginning. But then like after the first few unlocks, it's just like, do I even care about this?
I want to call that the Far Cry problem.
Like there's so many mechanics that just get slapped onto games once they get a big enough budget, and it's just an absolute waste. And an open world and a skill tree are two of the most egregious offenses in my opinion.
You can have a open sandbox, but then games like Far Cry or Arkham Knight, they'll put so many like menial tasks on that map that aren't meaningful. Because I don't mind doing other things if, you know, they're enjoyable. But Far Cry is like, oh yeah, collect this idol. Or climb
like
this
Batman's
radio
not,
tower.
I
like,
do think
Batman's
developers
not
are figuring it out, though. Like,
Yeah.
we see more games adopting philosophies from The Witcher 3, which was really impactful for high quality open world games.
Hopefully they get some
every
from
quest
Breath
is
of the
like
Wild.
impactful.
Yeah, that too.
Like I was playing The Witcher last night and I was doing a completely different mission and I found a Witcher contract in the same location I was doing this mission in. Like I didn't even know that contract existed until it's like, oh hey, go talk to this person in this town about the White Lady or whatever. I'm like, hold on, there was a Noon Wraith here? Like it blew my mind.
There's like and yeah, that's a good use of an open world because you're like exploring and discovering stuff. But like Batman doesn't do that, and like my best example is the best comparison in my opinion is Spider-Man, who in my opinion absolutely needs an open world.
Yeah.
Versus Batman, who has no reason to have an open world. Because like when you think of Batman, you don't think of Batman like really patrolling the city so much. Like
Batman's
flying
not
through
a
the sky.
beat cop. He reacts to the bat signal. Spider-Man is more like the beat cop of
like Spider-Man swings around, he handles small scale crime and saves people, whereas Batman is like doing stakeouts and stuff. Like he always has a plan. Spider-Man wings it and travels around this open world and has fun and swings around and stops robberies and whatever. You know, basically what you do in the Spider-Man PS4 game.
Yeah.
But Batman does what you did in Arkham Asylum. Like he has this dedicated mission that he's going to get done, and I think expanding that to open world was a mistake.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to point out so many developers started chasing that open world sort of format, I think, after Bethesda first came to console. So like PS3 360, right, when Oblivion came out and Skyrim came out and Fallout
I think it was
3
Grand
came
Theft
out.
Auto 3.
Yeah,
actually probably
GTA 3
back,
did it.
back to GTA
3 made the open world. And
Yeah,
nobody else
they definitely
did
did.
it right for a long time. Because like GTA is a game that needs an open world because that's the whole game. Like you goof off and mess stuff up. But like so many of these games have open worlds where there's nothing to do.
And that's it. You know, like after the success of GTA and the Bethesda games, developers saw that money and were like, hey, we want to do that too. And then I distinctly remember a period of time where open world games were a rarity and something special, like a treat, you know? And now
everybody would get so excited for them.
Yeah, we've been inundated with them to the point where it's just an open world game has to be pretty exceptional for it to stand out amongst its peers.
And like, it's just going back, like there's just nothing to do in the open world in Batman, which is the most egregious example in my opinion. Like, I think there's all these guys to fight and no reason to fight them.
I think Arkham City struck the balance just right, where it was
Arkham
open
City
enough.
was okay, but it was small.
Yeah, it was small. Yeah, it was very small. So it still kept like the intimate feeling of Asylum, but just sort of expanded it in ways that made sense. Whereas Arkham Knight just felt meaninglessly vast, you know, especially because you had the Batmobile, which should have been a really cool mechanic, but then they threw those tank sections in and it just became
it was atrocious, and that was a phenomenal game. Like as far as like the actual Batman gameplay, I think Arkham Knight might be my favorite one.
Well, the gameplay itself hasn't really changed across the three games, right?
I think they just kind of refined their design, like,
and that third person combat is sort of, they definitely kind of pioneered that, right? Like that combat didn't really exist in that form before that game, before Asylum. Right. I feel like, you know, Spider-Man PS4's combat is essentially just Arkham combat.
Yeah, I mean, when I put Arkham Asylum in, yeah, I think Spider-Man's is a little more in depth because you can, I mean, Batman Arkham combat is super easy, and Spider-Man you can actually kind of get your butt kicked if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
But I remember, and this is kind of an aside, this is just a gaming memory, but like I bought the Batman game like near when it came out on PS3, and I remember putting that in and thinking like this game's not going to be very good. Like, you know, just preemptively thinking I probably got scammed, but I don't think I paid very much for it. And then it was just fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. You know, there's less of that these days because everything's blasted over social media, but like I loved back in the day being surprised by a game.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I got to experience that recently because I bought like a haul of NES games. I was actually staying with you when I picked them up, Amid.
Yeah.
And I got home and I popped in just one I didn't recognize called Master Blaster. And it turns out it's like a super popular NES game.
Oh yeah.
It had just been off my radar, and that game like it just engrossed my evening. Like I was having a blast with this game I've never even heard of. Like the box looked like the actual cartridge looked awful. That's why I picked it, but it ended up being super fun.
Yeah, I can't. Oh my gosh, I can't even think of the last time something like that happened to me. I think it'd have to be like when in like 2008 or something when I first played, or 9. I think it was 2008. When I first played Uncharted, Drake's Fortune.
Oh
But
yeah.
I just bought it. I don't know why. I was at a GameStop and I saw it, and I only just saw Naughty Dog, and I hadn't heard of this game before. But I loved Jack and Daxter on PlayStation 2, so I bought it and I played it, and it changed my life really. Like it changed what I thought gaming could be.
See, Game Pass kind of does that to me a little bit because like the barrier to entry is so low that I don't really look into a game before I start playing it. And that ended up like Final Fantasy 15 kind of hit me like that because it was free. I got it on a whim, and I ended up just falling in love with it.
Yeah.
Like, and I think Game Pass kind of opens the door to that for that to happen to me more. And I
Yeah,
try to
that's a great point. Yeah.
like I'm into retro games, and I try to just occasionally pick up one that I'm not super familiar with because there were a ton of good games back then that flew under the radar. There are also a lot of stinkers.
For sure. So what have you been playing, Connor?
So yeah, we'll wrap this up. I was gonna wait. I think I mentioned it on a previous episode that I wanted to wait until I finished the entire Mega Man Zero series to talk about them. But I just finished Mega Man Zero 2 last night, and I think I'm gonna take a break before I move on to 3 because they're starting to feel a little samey, even
Mhm.
after just the first two. And that's Mega Man. Really, Mega Man Zero so far, 1 and 2, it's a lot of Mega Man, but like
So
it's Mega Man, but you don't get a new weapon from every boss.
before
Like,
you go on, all right. So there's Mega Man, and then Mega Man X, and then
Right, okay.
Mega Man Zero as well. And these are all different series.
yeah, sort of. So they're all in the same timeline. Mega Man happened 20XX or was it 199X? I forget. Anyway, Mega Man happened whenever it happened, the original classic series, and even the new ones that they're making still are happening in that time era. But sometime after the classic Mega Man games, Dr. Light created basically the perfect robot, which was Mega Man X. But he never activated him, I guess, or he put him to sleep. And an undisclosed amount of time later, people discovered him, and they basically made this whole species of robots based on him because X is capable of like thought, like he's a sentient robot. And so that's when the Mega Man X games come out. There's a species essentially called Reploids, which are intelligent robots, and they can go Maverick, which is how the Robot Masters are replaced. They're Mavericks, and X is a Maverick hunter, and so you play as Mega Man X hunting these Reploids that have gone rogue, basically, and that's all the Mega Man X games.
Sounds hardcore.
Wasn't that where Boomer Quanger came from?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Because they abandoned like the naming convention. Like Mega Man is the only man in Mega Man X. They all have like normal names,
Weird
not
translation
names, but they're
names.
not. Yeah, like X's best friend is Zero. Like it's not Proto Man, although he looks a lot like Proto Man. But then after the X series happens, Zero was put to sleep at some point. Like he's in you know, he was put into hibernation, and he wakes up, and there's like a country called Neo Arcadia. This is 100 years later or something like that, and a country called Neo Arcadia is hunting all Reploids because there's like some energy crisis. It's basically an overpopulation issue. There are too many humans and Reploids, so they've decided humans get to live, Reploids don't, basically. And as Zero, you fight for the Reploid resistance against Neo Arcadia, which is head up by X and a couple of other people that were on your side throughout the Mega Man X games, I think.
See, this story and lore sounds awesome. And it's almost to me, it's almost a little misleading because I feel like this is mostly just in the background, right? Because Mega Man games are solely focused on gameplay.
It sounds like a good story, and I'm gonna tell you, if you play any of these games for the story, you will be so disappointed.
Right.
It is so poorly delivered. Like, it is. If you want this good story, it exists, and you should go read about it online, because the way it is delivered in games is like, oh, you get 2 or 3 lines of dialogue, and now you get to play 3 levels that are all really good, but the story just doesn't even come up. Like, they come up with excuses for you to go to these locations, basically. And, like, all of that, like, Zero wakes up, Zero fights Neo Arcadia. That's all of Mega Man Zero 1. Like, that's the only part. So this story, it's like this huge epic, but it's broken up over the course of so many different games.
Yeah. But
so
I think
it's not delivered well.
I was going to say, I think at this point, if you buy a Mega Man game, you should know what you're in for.
Right.
Which is a really sublime gameplay experience. Although I will say, the Battle Network games, I actually really enjoyed the story in those.
Oh, yeah. Those
completely
were
different.
Fantastic. I loved every part of the Battle Network games except for the random encounters.
Yeah.
I'm in love with those. I think the only one I've actually played is 6, but I loved it. They're long games.
Oh yeah. I think I played like all of them. I remember just endless hours on my Game Boy playing those games.
Yeah,
that was my first exposure to Mega Man, actually. So for the longest time, I thought that was what Mega Man was.
Yeah, because there was an anime for that too.
Yeah, I remember watching that too.
But anyway, Mega Man Zero 1, and really the Zero series, as far as I can tell in general, it's more Mega Man X, but you play as Zero, which was a thing in the Mega Man X games. So some people might be familiar with that.
So I was going to ask, how does the gameplay differ between regular X and Zero?
So Zero starts out with a blaster and the Z-Saber, which is a melee attack.
Mm-hmm.
And I played pretty much the whole game with the Z-Saber, and I had the blaster as like an optional secondary thing. But you're not like getting new weapons when you beat every boss like X does and Mega Man does. So like you beat a boss and sometimes you can get like an element to apply to your Z-Saber, but they don't really shake up the gameplay at all. You get all your weapons pretty much from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of lame.
Yeah, I thought the whole point of Mega Man was, defeating bosses, unlocking new weapons, which helps you in turn defeat new bosses.
Yeah, and it's not that in Mega Man Zero. Like, the elements, every boss has an elemental weakness, but, like, you're just swinging your Z-Saber at them. Like,
it's kind of lame.
Yeah, it is, but it feels really good. Like, the controls are so tight. Zero feels so good to control. He feels like X did, and X felt amazing to control. I love classic Mega Man, but you can't convince me that X doesn't control better. Yeah. But, like, I don't know. The stuff, like, in the first Mega Man Zero game, you don't even get color palette changes. Like, in the second one, you unlock new forms that can do stuff like make enemies more likely to drop health or make you attack faster, and they change Zero's color. And it does look weird. Like, Mega Man was clearly designed to have his color changed. Zero kind of looks weird when his color changes, to me.
So is Zero just
he's the red guy.
Proto
Man?
No. Okay.
He's not Proto Man. Zero, sort of spoilers, but the story really doesn't matter with these games. Zero was created by, and also these games are all ancient, but Zero was created by Dr. Wily at the same time Dr. Light was making Mega Man X.
Okay.
And Zero is the source of the Maverick virus that like turns them Maverick and stuff, but somehow he got rid of it at some point. I don't really understand. And he became a good guy. And so he's been a good guy pretty much the entire time we've known about him. But yeah, the main thing, these games were made for the Game Boy Advance, and there are a couple of times where the camera just really doesn't work at all. Like they feel so good to control and they're so fun to play until the camera doesn't work and like you have no idea if you're jumping into a pit or onto a platform. And it happened enough that like I have a hard time recommending these games. It happens so much.
So just to be clear, this is a 2D side scroller, right?
Yeah, it's a 2D side scroll. Yeah, it plays exactly like Mega Man X, except you have a lightsaber, like instead of unlockable weapons. And Mega Man Zero 2 got a little better with the camera, but they're instant kill spikes. Like it's just like they never learned any lessons from the previous Mega Man games.
See, like the insta-kill spikes definitely seems like an old game design
It's-
philosophy to me, right?
It is.
Because
Yeah.
back in the
And
day, you had
they're
to
not fun,
extend your
like-
game's length somehow.
The last level of Mega Man Zero had this one section where like there are 3 ladders and you have to jump from ladder to ladder and not fall into these spikes. There's zero challenge there. It's just like if you slip up, you die and like you don't get to fight the final boss as many times. Like that's not fun.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just full of stupid stuff like that, like stupid artificial difficulty. Like, I just there's a boss that after you kill him, he's the only one in the game that does this, and it's kind of out of nowhere, but he self-destructs. Like, and that's in Mega Man 01, and that's just eating your lives. Like,
Yeah.
that's not fun.
If he kills you, you have to. If
You don't
he
have to
kills
fight
you,
him.
you have to- yeah.
If you game over, yes, but if you just lose a life, no. And that takes me. Mega Man 02 doesn't have this problem, but Mega Man 01 has a finite number of lives, and you don't get more when you game over.
That's pretty
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah, so like they're called retry chips, and like if you like don't know that and you keep retrying on like the first level, then you don't have any additional lives. Like unless you find them in the levels, like you never get more. There's nowhere to buy them. You don't get them. Like no a traditional Mega Man, you start with 2 lives, and if you game over, you have to start the level over, but you have 2 lives again.
Yeah.
Mega Man
That-
01, you have to go back to your previous save. And what it ended up doing to me was like I used up all my retry chips not knowing that on the first level. And so I just didn't have a single continue for the entire rest of the game. Because every one I got,
Jeez.
I saved up for the final boss. So I had it, and it really made me think that it was going to be the worst of the series. Because I knew they fixed that in 02. I knew that going in. But it forced me to become like perfect at these levels. Like I had to get to the boss of the level, which usually when I'm playing a Mega Man game, I usually get to the boss, look at the pattern a little bit, and then let him kill me so that I can actually try. And you couldn't do that in Mega Man Zero. You had to get to the boss with enough HP to kill him. And that kind of upped the stakes a little bit. And by the time I was at the end of Mega Man 01, like I was beating levels on my first try because it had forced me to get so good at this game.
The Dark Souls philosophy.
Yeah. And I thought that was cool. And I was so excited to fire up Mega Man 02. And like I was thinking like, man, I'm gonna ride this momentum. And then I didn't. Like Mega Man 02, it had the instant kill spikes and stuff, and I just kinda I don't know. It didn't have the difficulty. I didn't feel like I was overcoming something anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And without that, the gameplay didn't really hold
It just
up.
felt like it was cheap.
Yeah, so and I'm not saying 01 is objectively a worse game than 02. Like I wasn't enjoying myself really overcoming those challenges the whole time. Like at certain points I was, but I'm just really conflicted on these games because they were super fun, they control super well, but they're so I don't know. And I think the Legacy Collection
Dated,
fixes
maybe?
it a little bit. Yeah, they're dated, but they're not even dated because these things were fixed in game design by the time these games came out. These were Game Boy Advance games. Game Boy Advance games didn't do this stuff. You know, by the time the game Super
Mega
NES,
Man-
by the time the Super NES was around, people knew not to use instant kill spikes. Mega Man has just refused to learn anything in its entire run.
Oh, well, I
Yeah.
was just gonna say though, Mega Man sort of stands tall as that series that, like throughout the years, you could always count on it being a challenge. Like if you wanted a hard game to play, you'd play Mega Man.
And these are hard, but like they would still be hard without instant kill spikes. Like the boss fights are super fun, every single one of them, like so far. And like you said, the story's interesting. It's just getting bogged down by this dumb stuff. Like I get to the final boss and I'm like one room before the final boss. I've got 2 lives and I get killed by instant kill spikes twice. I don't even want to go fight him anymore because I know I'm not going to beat him with my 1 life. Like or with my 0 lives, no continues.
Yeah.
It's just little stuff like that kind of bogged it down. So they don't stand as my favorite Mega Man games. I think I'm going to move on to Mega Man X for now, because I have that and I haven't beat it yet.
Yeah, X is the one I hear really good things about.
The Zero series is just really weird. It tries a lot of stuff, and it's successful in some ways and not in others. I hear 03 is the best of the series, and so I kind of hate to stop right before it, but I'm kind of fatigued. So
That's understandable.
I expected, before I started talking, I thought I was going to say a bunch of nice things about these games. But then I was really thinking about it, and it's just because they are really good. They control extremely well. If you like Mega Man, you're going to like this. Because I'm one of those people, when I'm playing Mega Man, I pretty much use the Buster the whole time, except on boss fights.
Yeah, it's weird to me that you said it's Mega Man with a lightsaber, because I always associate Mega Man with ranged combat, not melee combat.
Yeah, and you have the ranged combat. Like, your Buster works pretty much the exact same way Mega Man's does. So if you want to do that, it's there. But I don't know. I'm an up close and personal kind of guy. That was way more fun. I think the Z-Saber does more damage too. But that's the trade-off.
Okay.
I like to kill a boss quick, and the Z-Saber lets me do that, even though I'm having to put myself in danger more.
You'd really like Bloodborne.
Yeah, I do. I have it. I've been playing it.
Okay, cool. Mike, what have you been playing?
It's not what I've been playing, but what I will be playing in 6-ish hours. I don't know when it releases. I'm gonna be playing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX in 6 hours.
Those games are good.
I grew up with the original Red Rescue Team, so I'm eager to go back and play it again.
I still have the Red Rescue Team pre-order stickers on my original Nintendo DS. Or no, Blue Rescue Team, sorry.
Wow.
That game's so good.
It's
Unfortunately,
such a good game, and I'm excited to play it.
I was going to say,
again.
Unfortunately, I missed those when they first came out, so I've never actually played
That's
these
not
games.
Unfortunate. You're in for a treat.
Really?
Okay. This DX version, I think, is going to be the better way to play them. And the art style is gorgeous. The Nintendo Switch is obviously a fantastic console. Mike, I don't want to steal your thunder here, but these games are so good.
I'm so ready.
Yeah.
Why don't you describe, Mike? Why don't you describe the gameplay a bit? Because I really don't know anything about it.
So, it was probably one of the earliest procedurally generated dungeon crawlers I've played, because that's what it is. It's a Pokemon dungeon crawler.
Like, yeah, it's kind of
how does that work? How does the combat work?
Turn-based.
Oh, so
yeah,
it's the
same? Somewhat turn-based.
Like, have you ever played Rogue?
Yeah.
Or like any roguelike, like NetHack or anything. It's that.
It's basically the Pokemon mechanics.
Yeah, like you have your 4 moves and stuff, but they're all like some of them are ranged attacks, some of them are melee attacks, and you actually move around a grid in this dungeon.
Yeah.
So there's like an element of strategy to it in that regard, and there's like rocks. There are items you can use and like items you can throw, and you have like a team of 2 or 3 Pokemon, and you only control one of them at a time. And it's heavy on story, but the day-to-day gameplay, or the minute-to-minute gameplay, is you crawling through these dungeons.
Yeah.
And fighting, instead of monsters, it's other Pokemon. And sometimes when you beat them up, they like snap out of it and want to join your team.
Yeah, it's very cool. Like, I enjoyed. It's been so long since I've played it, because I was in 5th grade when I played this game, and when it came out, I was young. But it was a game that I'd spend hours each night on my Game Boy Advance SP playing this game, trying to get through the 100-floor dungeons. Like, it'd be 3 a.m., I'd go to sleep, go to school the next day, come back, play it again.
And I'm just going to sing praises to the originals for a little bit here, because the original, it had Red Rescue Team on Game Boy Advance and Blue Rescue Team on DS, but they were the same game, pretty much.
Yeah, they only had exclusives. And
they actually, you could connect them. Like if you died in a Rescue Team game, you could, I think, use a link cable. On DS, you could use wireless play, or you could put a Game Boy Advance cartridge in the DS and connect them, and basically whatever game you hadn't died on, you could play through the dungeon that they had died in, find them, and help them so that they could get back up and finish the dungeon. And that's big, but even better it had a password you could send your friend without any connectivity at all, and then they could clear that dungeon, give you the password to continue. So like,
So
your
the
friend,
password's just the seed to the dungeon, I'm guessing.
the seed of the dungeon plus where you were in it. It's the same way passcodes worked in older games, I
Yeah.
think, instead of
Yeah,
save
something
files.
like that.
But basically, that allowed a game with no internet connection, but like you could help out your friend on the other side of the country, and it was like such a forward-thinking
That's awesome.
game. And
Who
I
made-
imagine
who
the
made
Switch will
this?
streamline that.
Who made
Who
made it?
It was Chunsoft, I think.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Okay.
They
let me
make a
look.
bunch of mystery dungeon games. Like it's not just Pokemon. It's
Yeah, it was Chunsoft.
Spike Chunsoft. Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know how hot of a take this is, but Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is far and away better than any mainline Pokemon game.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. No,
That's high
praise.
praise.
Easily.
Such a fun, like, it's what
I mean,
I
the
like
story
about
is
Pokemon.
enjoyable. Like,
Yeah, that's sort of new for me as a Pokemon fan. I don't really usually care about the story, but you're saying this one's pretty good.
it doesn't take place in the main Pokemon world. Like, it's its own world. There are no
Yeah.
humans. This game is exclusively Pokemon.
I think I like that.
Yeah, and you play as the Pokemon, obviously, because there's no people.
Free from slavery, essentially.
Yeah. And it's just a real, like, all the characters are super likable, except the ones that are clearly not supposed to be. The world is just adorable. Like, a lot of the buildings are shaped like Pokemon's heads and stuff, but in a really charming way.
Even like the unenjoyable characters, they get their redemption. Not
Yeah.
gonna spoil anything for a 15-ish
Greenhorn
year
over
old
here.
game.
Well, I'm glad you didn't, because I really think I want to play it.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
I've
if you're
heard
a
such good
Pokemon
things about
fan,
these games, and I love
Yeah.
Pokemon, so it's kind of a no-brainer.
you're doing yourself a disservice not to play these if you're a Pokemon fan, because they are the best Pokemon games.
They were released
And
in 2005.
I don't know how
2006
they.
in America.
I only played the first ones. I never played. I hear Explorers of Sky is like hands down the best one, but I only played Blue Rescue Team so far.
Oh, the remake is apparently going to introduce mechanics that were first seen in Super Mystery Dungeon, like moves leveling up and everything.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, I don't
So-
know if I'm gonna get it because I don't know if I want to play through those games a second time because they're
I'm
so long.
going to stream it. It's going to be great.
That'll be such a good streaming game. I'm looking forward to Alpharad Plus's playthrough,
Yeah,
assuming they actually do the thing that they said they were gonna do.
they'll do it. It comes out tomorrow, so probably in like 6 hours they'll finally release it.
I might have to pick that up, honestly, to hold me over until Animal Crossing and Doom. I don't want
Yeah,
to spend any more money this month though.
I spent $60 in this game, and I got to buy Animal Crossing too.
It's
It's
$60?
Yeah, it's a full $60 game. It's
That's
a
a shame.
full $60 remake.
It's a full remake.
It's
I
a
think
full
that's
remake?
fair.
Okay, then
I mean,
that's fair, yeah.
It's not just a remaster; it's a full remake.
I mean, this game on Game Boy Advance and DS had enough content to be like
60,
a console game. Yeah.
Was a long.
Of course, it's padded. Like, it has a huge epilogue. Like, even after you beat the story, you're not even halfway through the game.
Yeah, no, there's 100 floor dungeons. Like some that you start at like level 1 and have to go through the dungeon at level 1.
Yeah. Like, and they're themed dungeons and stuff. And I never got into those too much because they were hard for me as a kid. Because I was like, if you were in the 5th grade, I was probably in 3rd, I think.
I've only made it through 100 level dungeon, and that was the Buried Relic dungeon, which
Yeah.
is where you start at level whatever level you were when you entered there. And the thing about 100 level dungeons in this game is they might sound easy, like, oh, you just got to find the stairs. You have to compete with a mechanic called your belly, which if you run out of food, you start taking damage very quickly.
Yeah. Which is
So
a
you-
huge roguelike mechanic, It's like you're actually exploring a dungeon. And
Yeah, you have to keep food in your inventory or you're going to lose that dungeon.
yeah. And it's just, yeah, there's just a lot of thought into these games. And it has all the, like, classic roguelike mechanics. Like, I think in Rogue, there were, like, fountains you could find. And, like, you don't know what this fountain is going to do until you interact with it. I'm pretty sure Pokemon Mystery Dungeon had a mechanic like that. They were just tiles on the floor.
Yeah.
But I think what this remake can add that'll do a ton is a little bit of visual flair, because that's what the original games were missing really badly.
Mega
Because-
Evolution is going to be in the remake. Ooh.
That'll be cool. But
Autosave.
all the dungeons looked like you go into these 100 floor dungeons, and like you start getting the Tetris effect a little bit, where like all these dungeons look exactly the same. You're looking at the same tile set for hours upon hours,
Yeah.
and that was bad. That was a bad thing, and I'm hoping that they'd kind of fix that in the remake. Because that really is like the only flaw I could say that this game had, was that the 100 floor dungeons were impossible for me to do because I didn't have the attention span to look at a tile set for that long.
I did. It largely plus the game has a partner mechanic. For like the first main story, if your partner dies, you fail the dungeon. That goes away after the main credits. Like once you beat the game, you can swap out your partner, you can swap who's up front, you don't have to play your player character anymore.
Yeah, that's another thing. For the entire
Yeah.
story, you have to. There's like a quiz at the beginning that tells you what Pokemon you are, which is super charming. Although I think in the newer ones, you can just pick what Pokemon if you don't like the answer you get.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But whatever you get there, you're stuck as that Pokemon for the entire story. You're not allowed to change and play as another one.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Because you are like that creates a sort of
yeah, you
on
are
as a
yeah,
player.
It's immersive almost.
Yeah,
like
that's what I was looking for. Yeah.
you also there's no evolution in the game until after the story. I won't spoil how evolution comes to be, but yeah, you can't do it. You are stuck in the first form for the entire
Well,
story.
Thanks, I guess, for giving me another game I gotta buy now.
Yeah, I
I feel
know.
like
We're-
this is sort of becoming a trend. Every week, you guys introduce me to new games that I then want to play.
Yeah, how's Final Fantasy 15 treating you?
So
I saw you playing it.
yeah, so since last time I said I really like the vibe, right, and I didn't dig the combat too much. And my update now is that I absolutely love this game.
Yeah, it's really good, right?
Yeah, and I love the combat as well now. Like it's finally sort of clicked with me. And I don't know, I've mostly just been running around doing side quests, but I've not gotten bored of that yet. Even though the side quests are very samey, I just love, driving around, making camp, like doing silly little things in my little group of 4. And yeah, I'm loving it so far. I'm only in chapter 3, but I've already put in like I think 8 hours.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
can't
so I told you that you could play through the story in a tight like 20 hours. If you're gonna do all these side quests and stuff, I rescind my comment entirely.
Oh,
Yeah, but like I think where I'm at right now, I think if I get bored, then I'll just put the gas on the main story.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like right now, I'm just enjoying my time in that world,
it's
which
so
is
nice.
great. Yeah, which I really didn't expect after I saw so many people like really mad at Final Fantasy 15, but I guess those came more from like long-term fans of the series.
Yeah,
Because
I don't
I think
wanna-
Final Fantasy 15 is like different from the previous entries,
It is, yeah.
but I'm liking it just fine.
There's some stuff later. Do you have the DLC?
I got the Royal Edition.
Okay,
whatever that
good.
is.
That has all the DLC. Because I hear one of the DLCs replaces like the last chapter of the game.
Yeah,
I
and
guess
I'm also glad
it'd be
that
the Royal
I'm
Edition
playing this-
upgrade.
I'm glad that I'm playing this now and not at launch because they've patched in like entire story beats and cutscenes into this game. And
Yes,
it's just sort
yeah.
of ridiculous. Like if you played this game at launch, you didn't really get the complete package.
I am told by my friend who loved the game and played through like all the side quests and stuff, absolutely hated the ending. Because it just wasn't finished when he played it.
Yeah.
And I like none of the stuff he was saying to me makes sense. And finally it clicked with me. We didn't play the same ending. Like the
That's
final
crazy.
chapter, yeah, it's just different. Like they added enough.
Actually, that's really bad. They should have just waited to release the game.
Yeah, they should
It's
have.
awful.
They
The
didn't
ending's
even
still
release all the-
disappointing.
I
Okay,
liked
let's
it.
let's not talk about the ending too much because
But,
I'm actually invested.
I do want to throw you a tip though. This isn't story related at all, but there's like a series of quests where you're like getting stuff for your car. Like I think
Yeah,
the 1st
I've
was like
I've already done like several of those.
I followed that to the end because I wish I had. And my friend told me what happens at the end, and you should just do it. Like it's worth your time.
Okay, cool.
I never did
I
them,
was
but-
already doing them because I'm already attached to the car. So
Yeah, I loved the car, but I just didn't do side quests. That car means so much to me.
that virtual car.
Yeah,
Oh,
it means
geez.
more to me
In
than my
that
actual
JRPG.
car. Yeah.
Okay, but that's all well and good. But it's not the game I wanted to talk about. But I'm glad I gave that update. I think I'm going to give a little update on Final Fantasy 15 as I played throughout the weeks.
I think that's a good idea.
But the game I was playing is a browser battle simulator called Pokemon Showdown.
I've heard of this.
You guys have played this. It's definitely illegal.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like it'll definitely get shut down at some point.
I don't know. It's been around a long time.
But yeah, like it's super fun to just hop in for like a game or two and then hop out. And I always just do like the random Gen 1 battles with my friends, especially because Gen 1 is so wonky and like just stupid in so many ways. Like it just weird mechanics, like if you kill with Hyper Beam, then you don't have to rest a turn. And like if you're frozen, you just can't thaw out, you basically just lose.
If you kill with Hyper Beam, you don't miss a turn. That's so overpowered.
Yeah, like Gen 1 is just stupid.
That's
My favorite
insane.
Gen 1 mechanic, Bind. Bind you cannot break out of.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So it was just basically a free disable that you could just wall off an entire team with.
That's funny. Yeah, I've never checked out Pokemon Showdown because I hate turn-based combat. So
You said that every episode.
yeah,
I
no,
hate
like
turn-based
nah. The only thing I hate more than the story in Pokemon is the gameplay. why I keep playing them, God knows. But
That's just how charming they are.
yeah, I know. That's true. Like it literally is just so charming that I still like.
But you liked Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, and this is not what I get.
Oh, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon's a totally different game. It has a good story and good combat.
But anyway, yeah, Pokemon Showdown, like, I've got a group of 3 or 4 friends that pretty consistently play it, and we're just like, we text each other, hey, you want to do, like, a game? You know, you just play for a game or two and then hop off, you know, when we have, like, a 5-minute window, and it's super fun. And
I think
especially,
it's super
like,
fun.
the random battles, like, you don't know what you're going to get, and you just have to make the best of either a really good or bad situation.
Yeah. I really like it as like a supplemental thing. I don't think anybody would buy it.
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
Because like a core part of Pokemon is racing them, and obviously Showdown doesn't really have any of that. But I think it's super cool. Like, I think Pokemon Showdown makes competitive Pokemon stupid. Like, because why would you grind for a competitive game when you could just put together a competitive team
Right,
on
yeah.
Showdown?
Yeah.
But like I like
Some
that it
people
exists.
like the
I think it's a
grind.
really cool thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I like the grind.
Yeah, but like this is super useful even if you just want to, you know, test out teams and stuff. Like if you're a pro player and want to test out strategies, like you just throw together a quick team in Showdown and you're good to go.
Yeah. No, it's a really cool thing. I knew a ton of people who were into it a couple years ago.
And just as an aside, I was curious and I poked around. The code is open source, so I pulled it down and it's all JavaScript and Node.js. So I'm like poking around in there and I'm thinking about like modding it and like having my own private server.
That'd be cool.
So
I mean, what's the advantage? Oh, because you wouldn't be able to run the mods if you didn't have a private server, duh.
yeah, I don't know. I was thinking of just like doing goofy things like inserting me and some of my friends in as Pokemon so we can actually like play as each other. But
Are there trainers? Like, do you
no, it's just
customize a
Pokemon.
trainer? Okay.
So I would like actually edit like a Pokedex entry or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it have like double battles and stuff?
I believe it does, but I've never messed with those. I've only done we've like 90% of my time on here has been Gen 1 random battles. So
Yeah, you could definitely goof around in there if it's all in JavaScript. That's
yeah.
well within your wheelhouse. That could be cool.
Yep. So yep, that's what I've been playing. But I think that'll do it for us this week. Thank you again, as always, for listening to us. Please follow us on Twitter at @PodcastGameTalk. You can like, comment, and subscribe to us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and Spotify. Once again, thank you for listening. Please avoid the coronavirus and be safe. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
See you guys.